Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar with Crossword Cybersecurity. I'm now going to hand over to Mary Dowd, CFO of Crossword Cybersecurity, to take us through today's presentation.
Thank you, Alex, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm just going to put my presentation on the screen and then we can start. So hopefully you can all see that now, and we will go through the presentation. And as Alex said, I'll take the questions at the end. So here we have the disclaimer and onto the main part of the presentation. So Crossword is an AIM-listed British business commercializing knowledge developed in universities into cybersecurity products and services. We're aiming to have approximately 5 software as a service products by the end of 2022, and we offer cybersecurity consulting and consulting around our SaaS products as well. We have an experienced leadership team. We're chaired by Sir Richard Dearlove, who's former head of MI6, and he's chair of trustees of the University of London. Our CEO and founder is Tom Ilube. He is chair of the Rugby Football Union. He's non-executive of WPP PLC, the FTSE 100 advertising agency. He's previously been a non-executive director of the BBC. He's the former chief information officer at Egg Bank, the first online bank. He's ex-Goldman Sachs, PwC, and he is advisory fellow at St. Anne's College and honorary fellow at Jesus College, Oxford. I'm Mary Dowd, CFO. I'm a chartered accountant and I've been with Crossword since May 2018. Prior to that, I was COO for Cordium Consulting Group, a leading provider of governance, risk and compliance services, mainly in the financial services area. We have Stuart Jubb, who's MD of Consulting. Stuart joined Crossword from KPMG, and prior to this, he was in the Armed Forces. Jake Holloway is our Chief Product Officer, and he has over 30 years experience in IT across a wide range of industries. Sean Arrowsmith is our Group Sales Director, and he has over 20 years sales experience in cyber, information security and technology. So you can see we're an experienced team. We also have a very strong advisory board, which is chaired by Alison Dyer, who is Chief Information Security Officer at Urenco and former director at GlaxoSmithKline. Other members of the advisory board include Professor Nick Jennings, who served as the UK government's Chief Scientific Advisor for National Security, and he is currently Vice Provost at Research at Imperial College London. Also on the advisory board is General the Lord Nick Houghton, who was Chief of the Defence Staff of the British Armed Forces. And we also have Professor David Stupples, who is Director of the Centre for Cybersecurity Sciences at City University, London. So I'm just going to outline in summary our products and services, and then I will go into them in more detail later on in the presentation. So our first product to market was Risicon, and this is an enterprise class third-party risk assurance product, which originated from City University of London. Our second product to market was Nixer CyberML, and this is a machine learning-based application protection product. Identiproof is our third product, and we acquired Verifiable Credentials Limited in May this year, and that brought Identiproof into our suite of products, and it's a verifiable credentials compatible middleware and wallet technology product. I've mentioned that we have consulting services. We provide cybersecurity consulting and threat intelligence services. I've shown on this table CyberOwl and BizGen. They're not a core part of Crossword, but I thought they were worth mentioning because where we see really good opportunities that don't fit under the Crossword umbrella, we have the capability of bringing these products to market. CyberOwl spun out of Coventry University, and Coventry wanted a stake in the product, in the product, yes, but that didn't fit with the Crossword structure. So we helped create a company, and we provided software development services and helped get that company set up. And we've received obviously payment for the software development services and sweet equity for setting the company up. We currently own 4% of CyberOwl. BizGen was set up to really, with the product to target the defence sector, which isn't a core sector for Crossword. So we didn't see that fitting with us. So we helped spin out BizGen, And we have just stopped providing software development services to BizGen, and we have a license agreement with them. So moving on, I just wanted to touch on the cybersecurity market. I could spend all morning talking about this market because there is so much going on. And while discretionary expenditure has been cut back by many organizations, there are aspects of cybersecurity that are not considered discretionary, and investment continues in these areas. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see some of the issues that are referred to as cybersecurity. And on the right-hand side, you'll see some recently issued statistics relating to the cybersecurity market, such as it being valued in the UK at over $7 billion. And the UK cybersecurity market is regarded as the largest one in Europe. And that's according to the International Trade Administration, and those stats were released in April this year. 4 in 10 businesses and a quarter of charities report having cybersecurity breaches or attacks in the last 12 months. And that's according to the Department of Culture, Media and Sport survey, which was released in March this year. And Microsoft recently warned their Office 365 customers of widespread credential phishing campaigns. And this is where their customers are receiving fraudulent requests to log in and insert login names and passwords in certain websites which are fraudulent. And this is so that the hackers can get their credentials, their login details. We're seeing very big names having data breaches such as Marriott, Twitter, Zoom. And everyone's aware, I think, of the SolarWinds attack. SolarWinds provides software to US government departments and many US companies. And their attack was reported at the end of 2020, and they have recently said that the cost of this hack is costing at least $18 billion. And this is an example of a severe impact of software supply chain attacks. This brings us on to our first product. So Risicon is a secure encryption software tool putting organizations in control of managing risks in their supply chain. So on the left-hand side of the screen, we can see what Risicon looks like. It's a screenshot from Risicon. It just shows how Risicon can display the risks for a supplier. So here we have Crossword Cybersecurity as a supplier, and it's very visual. It can be aggregated, the data can be aggregated and presented for a group of suppliers or for a whole of a company's supplier base. And this is very much kind of C-suite information that Risicon can supply. So Risicon, we bring Risicon to the market in 3 ways. Risicon Pro was launched in July 2020. This is a modular, out-of-the-box online subscription. It's targeted at smaller companies and less complex companies. The sales cycle is relatively short, 6 to 12 weeks, and the typical deal size is 3 to 5K per annum recurring revenue. We target Risicon Pro using membership bodies, and we're experiencing great success with that particular initiative, inbound sales and digital campaigns. Risicon Enterprise was the latest version of that, was launched in September 2019. And within a few weeks of that launch, we had signed up a FTSE 250 chemical company, really validating for us that this is an enterprise product. It has question sets, 360-degree supplier scorecard, and credit-safe integration, so there's financial data relating to the suppliers as well. It's targeted to medium and large complex enterprises. The sales cycle is quite long, it's 6 to 18 months, and we've been working to pull that down, and we are achieving that, with the average being less than 18 months. The typical deal size is 10 to 50K per annum recurring revenue, and the marketing is based on outbound sales activity. We also have a bespoke offering where we can take Risicon with a partner to defense, government, or critical national infrastructure. And these are 5 or 6 figure plus per annum recurring contracts, which Crossword on its own wouldn't be able to deliver, or wouldn't be able to invest the 1 to 2 year sales cycle in. So we take these opportunities with partners. So that's a summary of Risicon. Further information on Risicon, we have more than 300 organizations using it at the moment to assure almost 4,000 suppliers. And we've seen a large increase in the uptake of Risiken in the 6 months to the end of June. And this has been primarily because of our work with our membership bodies. At the end of 2020, we signed a memorandum of understanding with the Chartered Institute of Information Security, where we were able to take Risiken to their 10,000 memberships. And from that, we've increased Risiken usage by 200 of their members. And this has also involved us or introduced us to a FTSE 100 telecom company where we're looking at really taking Risiken into their wider organisation. We have an agreement with the ICAW, the Accountants of England and Wales, where we're sponsoring ICAW Live. And with that, we have one of our question sets is on the Modern Slavery Act. And the core of Risiken is cybersecurity, but some of our clients have asked us to broaden it so they can use it to assure other parts of their supply chain, including modern slavery. And this is the hook that we're using with the ICAW because there are pending changes relating to the legislation with modern slavery. We have further agreements about to be signed and in early stage discussions. And we are taking this membership model as far as we can because it's proving to be quite successful. I mentioned that we take Risiken to the market with partnerships. Our partnerships are with Leonardo, the defense, global defense contractor, Satisnet, which is an IT security reseller, and NCC, who are the leading cybersecurity provider who deliver some of their services through Risiken. We also have a project with Risiken. We call it Project Zeus. This is an Innovate funded project with Liverpool John Moores University. The Innovate funding is £157,000. And this is us looking at a new way of managing supply chain risk. We've been looking at in-depth industries, in particular nuclear and automotive. There is the potential to create a new product at the end of this project. Well, it wouldn't be immediately, there'll be more work to be done, but it's proving to be very successful. The project ends at the end of this month and we'll be looking to take that forward, and there could potentially be a new product from this, or there could be additional functionality built into Risiken. We also work with IASME, and IASME are the National Cybersecurity Centre's sole provider of cyber essentials. And they have 40 revenue generating partners that we're working with, and they're using Risiken to certify Internet of Things and fraudulent fraud risks. So they're using Risiken to assess these standards and issuing certificates using Risiken. So this screen I wanted to demonstrate that Risiken isn't industry specific. And I've just put some logos on the screen. You can see there's quite a few borough councils that we're working with and city councils, some big names in industry like Camel Laird, and in nuclear, Nuvia. We've also got accountancy firms, the FTSE 250 chemical company I mentioned earlier, and charity and many others. So Risiken has a broad client industry and a wide sector attraction. Our second product to market was Nixer CyberML. I mentioned earlier about Microsoft issuing warnings to its users about credential phishing. Well, Nixer is a tool which can help prevent credential attacks. Well, it can identify credential attacks and then deal with them. So when the hackers steal the credentials, they put them for sale on the dark web, and other hackers will buy these credentials. That's users' login names and passwords. And they will use bots to attack websites where they want to get access. It could be to steal credit card information, or it could be just to cause havoc. And they use the bots to target the websites with the login names and passwords that they have stolen. That's called credential stuffing. There's been a huge increase in credential stuffing in the last few years, particularly in Q1 of 2020, saw a 256% increase in credential stuffing over the previous year. And Nixer will help identify where this is happening and flag that it's happening, and the organization can then take action as appropriate. So Identity Proof is our third product. As I mentioned, this came through Verifiable Credentials Limited, which we acquired in May this year. And it's the industry or the world is rapidly moving from physical certificates to digital certificates. We get digital tickets for concerts and exhibitions. Our insurance certificates are digital, compliance certificates and education, and many more. So it's a big growth area. The challenge in this is to make sure that the certificates are secure and that they're maintaining the individual's privacy. And the Identity Proof is a tool that's based on the W3C global standard for credentials to ensure security and privacy. And Professor David Chadwick helped to write this standard, and he set up the Verifiable Credentials Limited as a University of Kent spin-out. And we met Professor Chadwick via the government-based Cyber SAP program and helped Professor Chadwick craft a go-to-market strategy. And we were very interested in the product and the market. So we acquired Verifiable Credentials Limited in May, and Professor Chadwick and his team are now working under Crossword. We're actively taking Identity Proof to market, and we're continuing with product development. We're looking at potential pilots, and we're talking to several commercial businesses and having in-depth conversations with the global training provider who issues thousands of certificates every year and about how they may use Identity Proof. So they are our three software as a service products. And then we have our consulting services. Our cybersecurity consulting division delivers innovative service across the whole cyber consulting lifecycle. And these services are bespoke to the client's requirements. Our pen testing services are CREST accredited, and that's an internationally recognized accreditation. We've worked with over 75 clients across multiple sectors, including insurance, professional services, financial services, nuclear and technology. And we're working with one of the world's largest global S&P insurance brokers and several FTSE 250 companies. Our consultants are high quality with backgrounds as Big Four directors in the military and blue chip organizations. We launched our vCISO, our Virtual Chief Information Security Officer proposition in 2019. And this has enabled us to convert our client project revenue into recurring revenue by offering a bespoke recurring service to fulfill the client's needs, where we've identified gaps in their functionality, in their internal resourcing, or in their technical skills. In 2020, consulting recurring revenue was 2.5 times that of 2019. And in 2021, we're experiencing further recurring revenue growth. As we grow, we're reaching critical mass in consulting, and we're also experiencing margin improvement in this area. Our consulting division is also strategic to our product business. Our consultants will work closely with our product teams, providing market insight and intelligence which support the decision-making in the software product teams. And we have multiple risk-driven third-party risk consulting opportunities. We're increasing the cross-sell of consulting services into our risk clients and selling our product services into our consulting clients as well. So in August 21, so just last month, we acquired Stega UK Limited. This is a threat intelligence and monitoring services company, which will sit under our consulting services. We paid a total price of 1.8 million in a mixture of cash and shares, 1.35 payable and 0.45 conditional upon performance. And the sum of the payments are upfront, some are deferred as earnout, and as I said, some are in shares as well. The price is a revenue multiplier of 2.25 on the unconditional payment. Stega brings the additional capability of threat intelligence and monitoring services using its sophisticated in-house platform. So it's adding another string to our bow. It brings about 30 new clients to Crossword, primarily financial sector organizations, and that's bringing the total number of fee-paying clients to over 100. Stega is currently break-even, and 75% of its revenue is recurring. There are cross-sell opportunities being explored and alongside operating synergies. So Crossword is looking internationally, and our first foray internationally will be to Oman. Our management has long-term connections with Oman at a senior level. We conducted a successful project in Oman late in 2020 with the Sultan Qaboos University. So we've tested the waters there, and we're happy that we can successfully undertake business there. We've signed a memorandum of understanding with the Al Rawahi Group, a prominent Omani family, to establish a subsidiary in Oman and use Oman as well as servicing Oman as our Gulf region headquarters. We'll be a majority shareholder with the Al Rawahi Group, providing startup capital, shared facilities, local knowledge and relationships. We've also signed an MOU with a major Omani managed service provider to roll out Risikan in Oman later this year. So our executive summary. So what we've done so far in 2021, we've signed the MOU and launched Risikan with the Chartered Institute of Information Security 10,000 membership base. We have more than 300 organizations using Risikan, assessing almost 4,000 suppliers. We acquired Verifiable Credential Limited in May 2021, adding Identiproof to the product portfolio. So our portfolio of products is now, our software products is now 3, Risikan, Nixer Cyber ML and Identiproof. We signed an MOU with the Al Rawahi Holdings Group to partner with Crossword in the Gulf region. We completed the acquisition of Stega, a recurring revenue threat intelligence and monitoring company, in August 2021. We raised 6.6 million in 2 fundraisers, 1.6 million in February 21 at 26p a share and 5 million in July at 30p per share. So what are we now intending to do? We're intending to meet our market expectations of 50% revenue growth in 2021. We're going to continue to roll out Risikan across membership bases. We're targeting 1,000 organizations using Risikan to assess over 10,000 suppliers by the end of next year. We're aiming to have revenue growth to 4 million next year. We're aiming to pilot Risikan with a global aerospace defense and security company that has over 6,000 suppliers. We're going to help clients understand the credential stuffing problem and solve it proportionally and with maximum automation using Nixer Cyber ML. We're going to complete our cybersecurity product portfolio with the development and acquisition of 2 or more products by the end of 2022. And we're going to launch Crossword in Oman later this year in partnership with the Al Rawahi Holdings Group. So just a little bit of history about Crossword. We were founded in March 2014 and we admitted to AIM in December 2018. We launched Risikan version 2 in September 2019 and Nixer Cyber ML in November 2019. We acquired Identiproof in May 21. And we acquired Stega, the threat intelligence company, in August 21. We have a total staff of 54, over 2 offices, London, Waterloo in London, and Krakow in Poland, where our software developers sit. We've engaged with over 40 universities. We have a strong product revenue growth. In 2020, our revenue growth was 25%, and within that, product and consulting revenue grew by 39%. So here we have our financial statements, revenue up, so this is to December 2020, revenue 1.6 million, and we're aiming to grow that by 50% in the current year and up to 4 million in 2022. Loss for the year of 2.3 million. Non-controlling interests, there are Stuart Jubb, our MD of consulting, who owns 10% of the consulting group, consulting company, I should say. And here's our balance sheet at the end of 2020. The right of use assets refer to our offices in London and Krakow. And at that point, we had almost £1 million in cash. Since then, we've had 2 acquisitions, we've had 2 fundraisers, and we have had a share split. So it's been quite a busy year for us. Cash at the end of August was 4.1 million. So that concludes the presentation. I think we'll open up to questions. I'm going to stop sharing. There we go.
Mary, thank you very much. Sounds like there's a lot been going on recently, and you've clearly got some big targets for what's going to happen the rest of this year and in 2022. So wish you all the best with that. We've had quite a few questions that have come in ahead of time and a few during the presentation. And just to remind you, if you do want to ask a question, there's a chat box at the bottom of your screen. Please type it in there and we'll try and get through as many questions as we can. So let's just start with a question that's come in ahead of time. I think you might have covered this in the presentation, but no harm in perhaps maybe you want to raise a couple of other points or address it. What is the strategic rationale of acquiring Stega? Is it mainly to cross-sell other CCS products to, or do you see strong growth potential in threat detection? And there are some clearly quite large businesses built on threat detection alone.
Yes, that's quite interesting. So it was to add another string to our bow with threat intelligence and monitoring services. We have the opportunity to sell those services into our current client base and also to sell our other consulting services and our product sales into the 30 or so clients that Stega brings to the table. Stega's threat intelligence and monitoring services are really geared towards smaller companies. So there are very big companies out there offering these services, but there's part of the market that they're not necessarily targeting the smaller end of the market. So we see an opportunity specifically for that as well.
Next question is from someone who perhaps wants to try one of your products. Risicon, is there a lengthy free trial period?
So we do offer it on a free trial basis. It depends if you can actually engage with one of our membership bodies. Some of the deals there are quite attractive, but they're quite limited on the free basis. You can sign up online to a Risicon Pro free version for 3 months. And you can sign up actually for a premium version with the membership bodies as well. So there are various ways to the market with Risicon.
I might try one of those myself.
Yeah, please do.
In terms of widening the product range, what product areas excite you at the moment? Could any of the university collaborations you're working on give rise to product launches for Crossword?
So yes, is the answer. So I mentioned Zeus, which is looking at the risk management in the supply chain, in cybersecurity risk management, and the potential for a new product out of that it's not going to be instantaneous. It would take it probably another kind of 6 to 12 months, a lot of more development, and we'll assess that at the end of the current project, which is to conclude next week. It's been received, and there's been a lot of excitement in industry to everyone we spoke to and engaged with in that project. So we will either, I would expect, roll out another product or augment Risicon itself. We've also got work ongoing with the University of Glasgow on their privacy risk product. There's potential there as well. It's quite an exciting space. So yeah, so there's a lot of interest in various aspects. We also look at acquisitions for our widening of our product base and internal ideas. We're constantly batting things around with our consultants out in the market. They will bring back suggestions of things to look at that they're seeing gaps or hearing of gaps from the professionals that they're speaking to. Okay.
Crossword Cybersecurity has a very large and fast-growing first-class client base. When and how will the total revenue be reflected from this base, and how does an average sort of revenue per client grow after the landing phase and into the expanding phase?
So this is something that we are really actively working on now. I mentioned that we're cross-selling consulting and software into the various product streams. And as we bring more products to market, and with the Stega products, this is going to be something that gets a high focus. It's probably too early for me to say anything concrete on it just yet, except that with the consulting products, when we land them, there's a specific life cycle there. And we, at the end of, so we start with a maturity assessment, perhaps an accreditation, and then we would try and move them onto our recurring revenue VCSO. And it's that point that we have an established long-term recurring revenue. Some of these agreements are 3 years long, and we can start using that relationship to sell in our products. And if this is the same with selling our software products, our consulting teams will help to bed in those products at the client. So there's a relationship there, and we can start to use that relationship to sell our consulting services as well.
Question here about one of your overseas operations. How challenging will it be to service your Oman launch, and will you need to put boots on the ground, particularly in terms of the consultancy projects?
We don't see it as challenging, partly because of the Al Rawahi group. They are an international company, so they understand us, and we have a lot of relationships already. And I mentioned the MOU, the commercial MOU that we have in place. We're already being contacted with commercial interests from Oman. We've identified a local manager there. I do expect that we will need boots on the ground. Some of our more junior consultants are quite itchy to get on a plane perhaps and go over there, and we will have local employment as well, I would expect.
Okay. Got a couple of sort of linked questions on, I guess, past performance and profitability. So one that starts off, it says, looking at data on Stockopedia, you've been unprofitable for the last 6 years, and sales last year were 1.6 million. What level of sales do you need to be profitable? And a linked question is that, can you comment on the critical mass needed in order to compete profitably?
So we've had 2 very successful and oversubscribed fundraisers this year, and we expect that these funds will take us to profitability as we currently stand, and we would expect that within 3 years. We are looking at product expansion. We're very focused on that. So there may be a requirement for fundraising for acquisitions potentially, if they arise. The revenue required to reach profitability, I probably can't be too specific on that at the moment. I have said that in 2022, we're committed to delivering revenue of 4 million. So you can see the kind of growth trajectory that we're on, and revenue and profitability within 3 years based on that trajectory.
Okay, thank you. A linked question to that, I think you mentioned it, or mentioned part of it, which is about acquisitions. And the question is, how and when do you expect the industry to start consolidating, and what is the Crossword Cybersecurity view on industry consolidation?
I don't really have an opinion on the consolidation in the industry. I mean, Crossword's objective is to have a portfolio of products, and that's to enable us to diversify our risk, because there are a lot of small companies rolling out into the market, and a lot of them are failing because they're not able. They have good technology potentially. They don't understand their markets, and they don't understand how to commercialize their product. And that's where we may pick up opportunities for acquisition. But yeah, I really can't say anything further on the market of consolidation.
Okay, not on the market of consolidation, but in terms of the competition, you operate in a fiercely competitive sector up against some huge competitors such as CrowdStrike, Palo Alto, Fortinet, etc. How do you compete with these giants, and what's the USP that distinguishes you from their offerings in the market?
Yeah, we're also up against kind of the big 4 on the consulting side as well. So I think it's quality of service at a probably slightly cheaper price as well. And we offer a very bespoke service. So with Risican, for example, the client has the ability to write their own questions, so they can adapt what we provide. They can do that themselves, or we can do that for them. We have very close relationships with our clients, and the membership base methodology of rolling Risican out is really proving to be successful. So I think it's the ability to reach people in a more direct, and probably sometimes the bigger companies are, particularly for smaller clients, and we can definitely see that with our threat intelligence companies. The smaller companies don't see that the bigger companies have something to offer them, so we can go to the smaller client base. But that's not to say that we're missing out on the larger client base as well. As I demonstrated with the logos, we've got the likes of Camel Laird, the FTSE 250 chemical company. So they see benefit in the product that we're offering them and the quality of the product and service.
Okay, thank you. I don't think this question is correct, but anyway, perhaps you can put them right. There don't appear to be any forecasts out there in the market for Crossword Cybersecurity. When do you think this will change?
Our brokers analyst does issue forecasts, and I believe they're on Research Tree, or you could go straight to the broker for those. I have mentioned revenue growth of 50% this year and 4 million revenue target for 2022.
And for those that don't know, your broker is Hybridian, isn't it?
Hybridian, yes, that's right.
Good. Question here on share ownership. What's the insider ownership percentage at the company?
So Tom, our CEO, owns 20% of the company still, and I think there's probably another 1% or so on top of that.
Okay, thank you. Going into the products here, can you give us an update on verifiable credentials, and is identity proof being used in the market?
Identity proof has been used in trials in the NHS, and it has been used, or is about to be used in a trial in Greece, I believe. So it's demonstrating its ability. So our next task is to really commercialize that. So we continue to develop the product, and we've got an app for phone usage on Android and iOS. So within months, we're expecting to be able to announce that we have a commercial deal on that.
Great, thank you. Just as a reminder to people, if you do want to ask a question, please just type it into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Looking at one here, is Crossword Cybersecurity concentrating mostly on, I guess, private businesses? And if so, regarding the superb management team, that they've also got a lot of public service experience, are there any obstacles to start servicing, the government sector?
No, we're not just focusing on private businesses. We are focusing on the government sector as well. We had a very large bid in with Leonardo into the Ministry of Defence for a new platform there, which we were very excited about, and we were shortlisted for that project. Unfortunately, the Ministry of Defence pulled the project. So I think uncertainty in some government areas is an obstacle. But it's definitely something we will continue to keep an eye on and are definitely interested in.
Okay, we've got a couple of questions on this topic, which is really, I'm going to sort of amalgamate them. Wondered if you could explain, what's really happened in the last few years and what's behind the sort of the fall in the share price over, a number of years.
Well, I think if you look at our share price and our revenue, I think we were potentially overvalued. And I think that there wasn't a huge amount of liquidity at that share price a couple of years ago. We have actioned a share split in May this year to improve the liquidity, and I think our valuation is currently more realistic based on our revenue and our turnover.
Thank you. This is the last question we've got, unless anyone else wants to ask another question. And if you do, please type it into the Q&A box. But the question here is on blockchain. And do you see blockchain technology as a risk to your supply chain and certification work streams?
This is probably where I should have brought one of my technical colleagues along. No, is the short answer. We talk about, this is talked about a lot internally. And the technology behind verifiable credentials is deemed to be more secure than blockchain. I'm not able, unfortunately, to go into any details on that. It's beyond my technical ability.
Okay, it's beyond mine too, Mary, so I won't try and help out on that one. Another question just come in. Are there any plans to exploit the potential growth in SASE, or is that something too far into the networking sphere for Crossword? And SASE, as I understand, is pronounced SASE.
SASE. I don't know what SASE is. Simon, could you explain what SASE is?
Yeah, Simon, maybe you can ask another question explaining what that is. In the meantime, we'll ask the next question that's come in, which is, can you outline your remuneration policy regarding options and similar?
We are currently looking to put an LTIP in place for senior management for the executive team, excluding Tom Ilube, our CEO. As I mentioned, he already has a large share ownership. So we will be launching that hopefully at some point shortly. Other than that, we issue share options kind of annually to staff, not particularly large or significant amounts.
Okay. Mary, we have no further questions, so I'll just thank you for giving us a very clear introduction and outlining, as I said, the potential for Crossword Cybersecurity going forward. I'd like to thank everyone for attending today. And again, as I mentioned, when you leave today, you'll be coming to a survey. We really appreciate if you just spend a few moments completing that survey. And I just want to promote a webinar that we have coming up next month with Tullow Oil on the 21st of October. So thank you for attending today, and we hope to see you all soon. Thank you.